Our first presenter needs no introduction. He's the leadoff man. He's, like I said before, a great part of this team. It's Andy Danver from Branch 35. Andy is a past Big Sur and continuing in part as Big Sur for this coming year. And he's been our Zoom coordinator. So Andy, it's all yours, buddy.
Well, what I find interesting is that back when Rick called this meeting, it was almost a month ago, or maybe more than a month ago, and I had passed out a single slide that I use at our Branch 35 orientation, and they said, talk on this, and I said, okay. And then we said, well, we'll put you up first, and I said, okay. And they said, and you have 40 minutes. And I said, what am I going to say for 40 minutes? So, in fact, I have enhanced this. And as I've looked at the agenda for the rest of the week, it's a wonderful capstone, a table of contents of what you will be hearing from many of the leaders that we'll mention here as we move forward. So what this is a slightly modified orientation, enhanced to talk about what State Sur does for your branch. So as Rick said, I was past and will be future Big Sur at Branch 35. Branch 35 is 325 people large, and we have trouble finding people to sign up to be a leader. People will be volunteers. People will cook at the barbecue. People will handle the holiday. People will sign people in and collect money at the door, but nobody wants to lead. And I think that's a common problem that we have throughout Sur. We were the first branch to use Zoom, and as such have been working with Derek on his committee, and more recently, based on my history at Hewlett Packard, where I was a marketing communications manager, I've been working with Dave Gonzalez on state branding. Interestingly enough, I joined in 2009, and I enjoyed for like 64% of those surveyed and 95% of the officers in Area 13, I joined to play golf. I had never heard of Sur. I did not know what Sur was, and I played golf. And oh yeah, on occasion, I went to a lunch. How many of you are in the same position, and how many in your branch are in the same position? That is to say that we don't know what Sur was. I certainly did not. And though I helped out with computers and the holiday party and picnics and joined in, I didn't know very many people, and I didn't know what Sur was. About 4 or 5 years ago, I was asked to be a little Sur, and I was honored and signed up. And at that time, I began to read what Sur was. And I'm not going to go through the history because you know what it is. But Damian Reynolds met with former associates for a monthly social lunch. They established a few simple rules of behavior, and they named their group Sons in Retirement. And Sur is going through an evolution right now, as you have all heard. And we are going back to our roots. The goal of Sur is to have fun with friends. It's a wholly volunteer organization, which means we need everyone on board to help or we fall apart. The number one goal is to have a good time. And if you're not having a good time, you need to work on your Sur branch to have a good time. In Branch 35, we meet monthly for lunch with speakers. And if you look at the speaker, there's Derek, who happened to be in this picture. We organize and participate activities, as you do, and we attend events with each other. And most of all, we stress that we attend events with our partners. Our partners. In fact, the best bowler in our league is a wife. And the second best bowler is also a wife. And so we emphasize that we want our partners to be with us as much as possible within our social club. And so I tell new members, Branch 35 is your local social club. That's a little different than Rotary, which is your local service club with a whole lot of requirements well beyond social. Legally, we are a 501c4 corporation. So what does that mean? Most of you make donations and you get credit for your taxes because you donated to a 501c3. A C4 corporation is a social welfare corporation. That means that all the money collected by SIR must in fact return to members of your branch. Branches are managed by an elected board of directors who are fully fiduciary responsible. That means if someone decides to sue, they sue the officers of your beck. Dues are used solely to cover branch operating costs. All branch activities, invests, and events are self-supporting. And that's important to know. It turns out that the state organization, and by the way, each branch is an independent corporation under the state charter. The state organization also is a C4 and it is independent. And currently, as of February, I didn't try to update this, we have 5 regions, 18 areas, 108 branches, and over 11,766 members. And it's up and down from time to time. I had no clue any of this information when I signed up to be a Little Sir. And I had no clue what it was like to run an organization like Stu does and Rick does with 11,000 members in Northern California. That's a big number. And how do you set yourself up to help those branches be successful? I'm not going to get into the finance because Roy will later, but if you look at the chart, and this comes out of last week's annual board meeting, the income from the branches to the state organization as of last week was 39,000 plus. That is 60% of the revenue that's used to support the branches comes from the branches. Now, the 24,000 that you see in blue there is in fact also came from the branches, but came from previous years. And you see that and the reason that the blue is so large is that we did not expend all of the money last year. And so we ended assessments in the first quarter at least. If you look at the expenses for SIR, what jumps out? The red does. That's $42,483, or 80% of our expenses covered insurance. That's a huge amount of money. If you look there, 39,000 was collected this year and 42 was paid for insurance. So what does the state do with whatever's left? Well, number one, it insures the branches. Number two, it signs contracts and supports common tools. It submits branch financials. The branch does not have to do state taxes, federal taxes, or incorporation information. We try to train our branch executives, much like you see here. We organize activities and events at the state level, and usually they're tournaments to which each branch sends representatives. The state publishes a monthly newsletter, and it sells apparel often online. So let me spend a couple of minutes on all of this. Number one, and as we saw, the single largest expense of state pays the insurance policy. And we do that because all state and branch officers are fiduciarily, I can't say it right, responsible. And therefore they're liable if someone in a litigation-prone society decides to sue. Officers are fully covered by the SIR insurance policy. It covers the liability as a result of carelessness and accidents and anticipated problems. And our largest time spent by the state had to do with keeping our insurance policy in place with COVID-19 coming on. And you can say, well, who would ever sue that they caught COVID-19 at lunch? Well, guess what? It isn't the member, it's sometimes the family of the member. So we have to have the insurance policy, and it's expensive. We support common tools. We have a committee that creates SIR branding and image, and you will have Dave Gonzalez, who heads that up, and Mary, our consultant, giving presentations later in the week. We develop SIR marketing material. We maintain what I consider an excellent website. Alan Baker and his team have done an outstanding job of improving that. Have you tried it recently? sirinc.com. Huh?
.org.
Supports website tools. We have a contract with website tool developers. We have a contract with Constant Contact. And when I say we, it's the state for the benefit of the branches. And we support Zoom accounts too. We have 10 of them that Derek set up last year when we decided to go big time. So let me spend a couple of minutes on it. I'm not going to go in depth here because Dave and Mary are going to do this later in the week, but we have created a SIR brand guide. We have brochures, which you can download and adapt to your own branch. We have invitations to lunch. We have business cards. We have SIR golf rack cards. We have vertical banners that you can put up. All of this has been done by a committee at state for the benefit of the branches. And we are going to begin to promote this big time, as you see, in 2022. We maintain a website. This is the new one. This was actually a screenshot taken yesterday. And you can see that if you wanted to come on, you can actually click on the agenda and join here. The branded materials there. Stu Williams' fireside chat is there. All of the summit talks are here. But key to all of the success of this, other than the new look, is up in the right-hand corner, you see search for. If you type in something for search for, like I was looking for some pictures and I typed in golf, and it took me immediately to all of the sites where golf was mentioned. It's a great shortcut to get to whatever you need. The second thing is the column on the right has keys to branch success. And all of this is organized now and easily acceptable. And this was done thanks to Alan and his team. Another big thing that in fact, this was what I thought was the most important thing when I came on, was that state submits legal forms for all of the branches. So you wonder why you do a Form 28. What the hell's a Form 28? A Form 28 is taken by the state team and eventually does state taxes and federal taxes. Twice every other year, we have to register our Statement of Information 100 with the state secretary because we are a charitable organization, and that is done for each of the branches by the state. And the state attorney general requires a registry of charitable trusts yearly, and that is done by the state. And this is time-consuming efforts, all done by a volunteer. We do training. We do best practice workshops. Ed Benson and the team last year before COVID went around and had town hall workshops at each of the major regions. The website team actually has a committee that holds website workshops for all of the members of the branches who are interested in bringing up a website for their team. We do Zoom workshops, and these have gone on through Derek's auspices as we've tried to train and get more people involved with Zoom. And God knows that we have branches with very bad internet connections and have trouble doing Zoom, but for all those who can, we have tried to do that. And then in January, Lee Moy put on Summit Leadership Workshop 1, and we had incredibly good attendance, better attendance than we ever had at a town hall workshop. And here we go with Summit Leadership Workshop 2. The goal is to bring up to speed not only branch officers and directors, but leaders of activities within the branch. And so we've gone to more of a menu effect where you choose the topic you want to come to and come online at that time. We organize state activities. There's a state golf group, a bowling group, a bocce ball group, a recreational vehicle group, and travel and special events. Golf, as I said, 64% of you play golf. 95% of the Area 13 officers joined to play golf. It's a big deal. This picture was taken at the Santa Clara Community Golf Course, which is now across the street from Levi Stadium and is becoming a housing development, unfortunately. And so Mark Stewart heads this up, and he will be talking tomorrow about golf. Just to say that in August, we had a state team championship where members from branches played in areas and then played in regions and then played at the state level. And he can talk more about that. Bowling is a big thing in most branches. It's co-ed in our case, big time. And Russell Salazar, who will talk tomorrow, organizes golf courses, bowling, and you can see that the state annual tournament does exist. We need to get the word out. I don't think anybody from Branch 35 attended because they didn't even know about it. So let's get the word out. State does a lot of things in the sports arena. Bocce ball is another one with Paul Collis. RV travel with Bobby Hairston is new and trying to get started and bring together people with RVs that can travel to sites. This happens to be in Portland, Oregon, or outside of Portland, Oregon. And that is just one of the sites. Group travel is not very popular in my branch, but it is in other branches, and Milton Smith heads that up. Special events. Lee Moy has done a terrific job with special events. I think one of the big ones, of course, has been the attendance at Oakland's A's and other events like that. And Jerry Sabo puts out a newsletter. This was November 2021, so this just went out. A newsletter called Sir Happenings that goes to everybody once a month. And it contains a fabulous amount of information, and he should be congratulated for what he does. Let me just take a break here. I'm kind of running on. Any questions or any insights? Because we do have some of the people who have participated in these activities on board here today. Oh, you don't see any hands raised.
Craig Putnam, unmute. Whoops. Greg, can you unmute? Branch 157.
Is that working now?
Yep, we got you.
Okay. You mentioned that a large percentage, well, most of our state dues goes to insurance. You also mentioned that insurance, as individuals on the board, as well as our branches. And you also insinuated that insurance covered us for damages caused by COVID. For instance, somebody got COVID at one of our meetings. I was under the impression at our last summit that had been stricken from our insurance policy and we no longer had that coverage. And it's very important to us because our vendor where we want to meet requires that we have this coverage.
So not to put you off, but following my talk, Rick and the team and Stu and the team and our lawyers are going to be talking about insurance and COVID-19 most specifically. So unless Rick or Stu has a comment to make here, I'd postpone that discussion until later.
Yeah, just to be clear, it does not cover COVID.
Oh, okay. I thought it did. Okay. My error.
or infectious.
Yeah, our venue requires we have COVID coverage or we can't meet there. And I'm telling them that this is, hopefully they can address this later, is that coverage is not available.
I don't think it's available by anybody. Stu
Exactly.
can talk about that later, but I don't think that's a coverage that's coverable.
That's my understanding.
Stu, you want to chime in or you want to wait?
You're muted, Stu.
If I could make a brief comment, we lost our coverage for communicable diseases, which would include COVID-19. And that was excluded from our policy as of May, our new policy year. And so we do not have coverage for that. There are 16 states in the United States that has coverage for such type of claims, and that is kind of a safe harbor provision that they have provided for within those states, but California does not at this time.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I did not know that myself. I thought it was covered.
No, sir.
Any other questions? Comments?
There are a few questions in the chat.
Okay.
Derek, could you read that or somebody read them? I can't bring up chat as a host.
Okay, I've got it. Are the wives partners insured and allowed to participate in branch SIR sponsored events? And that was from Jay Gordon, branch 19.
I didn't hear the very first of what you said.
Are the wives partners insured and allowed to participate in branch SIR sponsored events? The answer is yes. I can tell you that.
Good question. I didn't know that. I never considered it, but so anyone participating in an activity, a SIR activity, is covered then.
Guests are covered. Guests.
Correct.
Wives and partners are considered members of SIR, so they're covered by the SIR insurance.
Correct.
The second question from Sir Gordon, how to get on the mailing list for SIR happenings. I think the answer to that is you must have your name on the constant contact mailing list. And maybe we should do a discussion with Rick Sale, because he's talking on Wednesday at 2 o'clock on how to get the most out of constant contact. So we'll
Eric?
ask him that.
It needs to be pointed out that it's on the state website all the time,
Oh, yeah.
all the time. Go to the state website. It's a source of all the information.
In fact, the way I got the picture that you see on the screen right now is that I went in and asked for newsletter in the search box, and up it came, and I clicked on it, and there it was. And I took a screenshot of it.
Yeah, when the email goes out, it doesn't send a copy of the newsletter, it sends you a link to it. So if you're getting the emails, you just click on the link, otherwise go straight to the website.
Derek, if I could make an additional comment to your response about our insurance coverage. We have general liability coverage for all branch members, and that is for a policy of $1 million for every claim and $2 million for all claims. But it is operative upon the word authorized functions. So when you have an approved golf tournament, or you have an approved wine tasting event, it's important that those items be approved by your BEC prior to the event in order to have that coverage. So that is a key element of obtaining that coverage. And I'm sure Craig Hoffines will talk about this additionally during his period of time, but that is one of the key requirements that we need to have.
Thank you.
I have a question. David Muth, Branch 88.
Go ahead, David.
Stu, it would be, I think, a good thing to have a document about not only the insurance with relationship to COVID, but what you just said about all the events and the insurance covering us for those events, a document that really states all of this on one page that we can pull up. Because I'm sure if this came up once for one venue that a branch has, it comes up multiple times during the year. And I think a document explaining what insurance can cover in California and that COVID insurance just isn't available is a good thing to have.
That has been put on the state website before. Also, the fiduciary responsibilities and the requirement of that. But I have no problem putting a one-page document on that'll address those issues.
Thank you.
A lot of that is in that Sir Leader's Guide. There's a nice summary in the Sir Leader's Guide for insurance. It's not updated about COVID, but everything else is there.
That is correct, Dean. It's there.
Okay, to continue, Mark Bosch asked, please explain the insurance coverage for Sir Travel and RV groups. And I think the simple answer there is if the BEC has approved the activity, it's covered by the insurance.
That's correct.
I guess maybe the extended question is if it's a state event and a member attends, is he covered because the state has approved it?
The answer is yes.
Okay.
I should point out, though, it has to be mentioned in the minutes specifically to be covered.
Good.
Prior to the event taking place.
The other complication that might be there is if it's an area, for example, or a region arranging travel, the organizer branch is the one that provides, in a sense, that insurance coverage.
Yes.
And for international travel, there is a surcharge. Okay, Mike Garut, if I got that name correct, says, isn't that the substance of the waiver we all had to sign?
I'm going to address this more in the during our presentation, Alan Melanco's presentation, and Craig Hoffein's presentation, and the reason we have the waivers in place. And the waivers are just a part of the liability coverage. We have coverage that goes beyond. We understand we don't have coverage for communicable diseases, but we have coverage for you're at a golf tournament and you tee off and hit somebody in the head on an opposite hole. You'll be covered for that. That's the type of coverage that we wanted to maintain, and that's where that money goes to cover CSRS liability for approved events. The waiver was created and established for protecting us for the area where we do not have coverage. We have an exclusion. Craig Hoffines will talk about this, that we probably do have coverage at least for establishing a defense to litigation, but we would not have coverage in case there is an award or damages for having a communicable disease transferred to one of our members.
Okay,
Derek, let's skip any other that has to do with insurance. Are there some other comments?
One person is asking here, some of us have to leave early and believe insurance is a critical area to address. Will that be talked about? Yes, it will. And it will be the third topic. If you have to leave early and miss it, we are making a recording of the meeting, and it will be in the recording. And as soon as we can edit it and put it up on the website, it'll be there for your enjoyment. It looks like Ed, that's probably Ed Benson, I can't tell, says, can you increase the volume? I can barely hear on my phone. Sorry, the volume is fixed. I don't know how to change it. Maybe you've got a weak signal, or your phone is not turned up. But anyway, Ed, I think you're still in the nursing home there. So I'm sure that we all send our best wishes and hope you're doing well. Next, Lee Lamp. How many area governors and regional directors actually read the minutes of each branch in their AOR to ensure that all potential activities are actually approved by the BEC? Does every branch Big Sur secretary understand the importance of detailed minutes?
So Derek, I think that is addressed later when the secretary section on Friday. So let's move on from there.
Well, wait a minute. The secretary, he will mention that when he has his presentation, but as a regional director, I read the minutes of every branch every month, and that's 20 branches. But if they're having an activity that they don't mention in the minutes, I don't know about it. I only know what's in the minutes.
Yeah, and I also read all of them from Region 4. So I read all mine. So.
And I tell you, I get over 100 documents. I get like 95 documents from the 20 branches every month, and I read every one of them. It's a lot of work.
Yep, I get just as many out of Region 4. So yeah, I read mine just like you do, Dale. So.
The final question for now, Andy, and this will be handled in the insurance line. Is there a branch deductible in a claim?
No, there's no deductible.
Okay, that was an easy one. Thank you. That's it.
Okay, thanks, guys.